How you going, everybody? It's Tim here, RageLAG Gaming. Bit of a chill out video this time. Um, this is my third attempt of, I guess, part two of Who is RageLAG Gaming. um, just gonna have a sip of the beer. I'm gonna do a Canadian gamer here because it's very hot and stormy here in Australia in Brisbane. Um, this is a tricky video to do. I'll go over a bit of mental health towards the end. But as I said, this is my third take of this. First time I actually tried to shoot this video was Valentine's Day, and we'll just say I got a little bit distracted.
Okay, Jan, we need to talk.
The second time I tried to film it, it just dragged on forever, and I was just blabbering, and it was a snooze fest essentially. It was just shit and boring. So the PlayStation 2 for me, that came out just before I finished high school, or a couple of years before. And at this point in time, still heavily into skateboarding, but I'm also into sports, girls, partying, all that sort of stuff. And that's sort of beginning to reflect in my gaming. Gaming less. I've also at this point I got a job at Woolworths. So I'm a little bit busy, and the games that I am playing are reflective of my interests at the time. So we got FIFA, NBA, Call of Duty, and of course the GTA game. So I was one of those gamers. Um, Towards the end of, well, midway through, I guess, the PS2 era and moving into the PS3. Now with the PS3, I actually didn't get that till a couple of years after its release. I got the Slim PS3. Um, Now, at this point in time, I'm a draftsman, and I've just moved to Brisbane. I met Hayley, my wife, 6 months prior in New South Wales, and we moved together to Brisbane. And I'm working insane hours. It's pretty much where the GFC hit, and a lot of draftsmen lost their job. A lot of the construction industry sort of fell apart around that time. But luckily for me, I was in a drafting office that specialised in schools, Catholic schools. And if anyone in Australia remembers what the Australian government did at that point in time was the BER project, where they gave the schools, I think they gave pretty much every school in Australia $3 million to build a school hall. So we were smashed for about 2 years, working insane hours. So gaming just wasn't an option for me around the GFC. I was going to work at 7 a.m. and not getting home till 7 o'clock at night. And the last thing I wanted to do after sitting at a computer drawing buildings all day was to sit in front of a screen when I got home. So gaming, PS3 era, it just didn't really, and Xbox 360 era, I didn't even own an Xbox 360. It just went out the window. It wasn't until really 2 years ago that I got back into gaming, and something happened in my life, and it's probably work related as well. My job as a draftsman, I'm not a draftsman anymore. I'll get to that in a minute, but it was taking its toll. I did it for 12 years, and it was very involved. It's not the sort of job you could just sort of leave. You're just always on call. I remember getting phone calls while my wife was in labour from work. I remember going on our honeymoon. You know, drafting's a well-paying job, so I'm fortunate that I was able to buy a house, and me and my wife went to Italy for our honeymoon, but even then I was getting phone calls. Every holiday that I took while I was drafting, I was getting phone calls from work, dealing with builders and councils and school principals and everything in between. And it was starting to take a toll on me mentally. I probably wasn't the best husband during that time, and also the best father. At this point, I've got two kids. Very young at 2 years ago. I mean, they're 6 and 4 now, but 2 years ago, they're younger, and they're needing more attention. They still need attention now, but you know what I mean. And it all come to a head about 2 years ago. While I was on holiday, I took my kids just down. It was only about an hour and a half from here. I took them to SeaWorld, and I had this is shit to talk about, but I had a massive anxiety panic attack, and I think that was related. Looking back on it now, it was to do with work stress, and it was quite bad. I'm not going to make this into a mental health video. I had to go on medication. I meant to I was going to do the whole showing the box, but I think, but it's not here anyway. It's Loxolate. It was Loxolate. So about 12 months prior to my episode, I guess we'll call it, I realised that I need to get out of drafting, and I began studying. So I study something completely different. I'm not going to talk too much about that new role that I'm in now, but there's a lot of confidentiality around it. But I will say I work with teenagers with less than sort of desirable living conditions. So a massive shift in, I guess, my life, but it provides me with much needed work-life balance. And I get into that soon after, I guess, my huge, severe panic attack, I'm going to call it, down at SeaWorld. So basically that day, I was just lining up to get food, and all of a sudden I was struggling to breathe, and I was getting really dizzy, and my body just went into almost like a shock. Not a pleasant experience. I couldn't even drive home from SeaWorld that day. My wife had to drive. It was bad. It was bad. It was a real wake up call. But at that point in time as well, all I'm doing is working and parenting. I didn't have a single hobby. So I had to make some serious changes in my life. Being a draftsman, well, the money's great. I was in my 20s and on six figures. It just wasn't worth it. And I chucked that lifestyle in. I chucked in the nice car that I had with the leather seats, the sunroof and the 18-inch wheels, and got an old full drive and took my kids camping. That was the sort of shift that I did. I just did a massive, okay, no more. And I got into this new line of work. So this new role just provided me with so much more work-life balance. So tying that back into gaming now, PlayStation 4 came out, I believe 2013, and I'm drafting then, so absolutely no chance of gaming. But I ended up getting a PlayStation 4, I think about 12 months after release. It might have been only 6 months, purely because I won it in a competition run by Telstra, which is a communications company in Australia. Now I've got the box here. I think it's still got, if you can see that, it's got the little Telstra sticker on it. I actually won it through a competition that they were running if I pre-ordered a Sony phone, which for some stupid reason I decided to do. But I got the PlayStation 4 out of it back in I think 2014. And I actually went to sell this thing on eBay, because at that point in time I'm not into gaming. I sold it on eBay, and the person didn't pay up, so I sort of took that as a sign to keep it. And sitting over there right now with Yakuza 0 sitting in it. So I only had the PlayStation 4 and 15 odd games, most of which were the FIFAs, Call of Duties. I think I had The Last of Us and the GTA 5. So really I'd missed out on the whole start of the PS4 era as well. 2 years ago though, I got back into gaming when I started this new job, and man, I've hit it like right in the guts. Now I think I'm just looking over there now at my TV. I've got about 8 consoles hooked up to the TV. I actually just the other day I picked up a $5 CRT TV that's sitting in behind the lounge. I've got to set up yet. I'm going to do all shelves around this corner over the next couple of months. That's my next project. But yeah, I've just gone nuts on it. So that's sort of what I meant in previous videos about trying to catch up, especially on that PS3 Xbox 360 era. I've caught up a lot of the on the I guess the current gen. I feel like I've played all the major titles of current gen, both on Xbox One and PS4, and also the Nintendo Switch. I'm going through a bit of a drought on the Nintendo Switch at the moment. There really isn't much happening. Just as I shoot this video, just before I started filming, actually, I got the news. I saw the news that they're doing a Animal Crossing Direct. Like, I mean, it's pretty bad at the moment, to be honest. Like, Nintendo Switch for the next 12 months, all I'm seeing is Animal Crossing, and it's looking pretty bleak. So I need something from Nintendo. I'm going to be one of those guys whinging that there's no Nintendo Direct, one of those entitled gamers. But you know, that's another story. I'll talk about that in another video. But you know, so from I guess a mental health point of view, gaming has definitely helped me. I know that sort of gets talked about a lot, thrown around a lot. I know everyone has their stories around mental health. Quite a lot of you, I've seen a lot of videos, you know, talking about struggles with mental health, and video games, I believe, really do help. In my case, it helped me to stay present. My mind sort of would wander off a lot, and I just was never in the moment. I was always thinking ahead. When I was drafting, when I was at home, I was still thinking about work, or you know, when I was at work, sometimes my mind would drift off elsewhere, and I just was never in the moment. And I think, you know, with gaming, when you're sitting there with a controller in your hand and you see, you know, the amazing stories and action that's unfolding on the screen, that's all that matters in that point in time, and you're focused on that, and it keeps you centered. I don't game every day because of the way my hours work. I do a lot of night work, and my wife works from home during the day as well, so we spend a lot of time together during the day. So I'm really only gaming every second night, if that makes sense, because I work every other night. So that allows us, I guess that makes me a lot happier because my relationships are stronger. Got a much better relationship with my kids now, and I've got time every second night to throw a game on or make a YouTube video, and I really am just yeah, I'm probably the happiest I've been in a very, very long time. And you know, YouTube is just another little branch of that. Meeting a lot of you guys. Well, not meeting yet, but I think I'm meeting up with Ken and Greg in a week or two. But I think just talking to everyone in the community, and it's been really, really good. Anyway, guys, I'll end it there. I don't want this video to be too long, but yeah, with the channel moving forward, I want to get my wife Haley on, so that's going to be happening soon. I wanted to do this video though before I get her on, so I hope you guys look forward to that, and you know, a bit of different dynamic, I guess you could call it, and yeah, I got some other, I guess, ideas in the works as well. So until next time, guys, cheers.